Alright, the scene is a smooth brass. Tightly woven metal walkways connect the Acacia Fife's swarm of finely polished buildings, either bobbing up and down in the currents of air around them, or held in place by thin stilts hundreds of thousands of feet long, anchored in the forests far below. This particular cluster of buildings, all emblazoned with the same imagery as the grand structure at its heart, is a place of research. Starworks University is its name, a coincided airborne campus of engineering and Emilite research both. Many patron engineers of Canaan's Technobreaker Guild walk Starworks corridors and catwalks, and whether or not you count yourself among them, it is ultimately a setting you find yourself familiar with. Stepping in time with your peers and professors, today is an anxious and troubling one both. For the past few weeks, a strange disturbance in the ley line flow beneath Canaan, as well as irregularities in the thermodynamics in the atmosphere immediately above it, particularly the Tyrannus Fife, has spawned a plethora of theories and premonitions, the best of Starworks arguing and collaborating in an attempt to discover what could be causing the abnormalities. Instruments and field researchers both had stationed themselves around the locale where they're at their most extreme, directly above and below the Tyrannus Fife at the imperial heart of Canaan itself. Today, those researchers, all of the instruments themselves, have reported an intensifying of the strange phenomenon to be tens of thousands of times more powerful, and in a slightly panicked move, Starworks recalled all of them back to campus. You join your compatriots all, as the buildings behind and around you vacate and more join your ranks, a veritable parade to look out towards the airspace above the Tyrannus Fief far in the distance, hoping yourselves safe at this vantage point from whatever force is disturbing it. Albus, what do you look like? You're there, right?
Sorry, I just did not have my character sheet on up.
No problem. Go ahead and describe yourself.
And it did not save. Okay, I'll just add leave it. Okay, I'm like, um,
You good?
kind of doesn't show that it can hold a bit more than its own weight.
You, you, you what?
Sorry. I should just probably type it and then, right?
A little louder.
Okay, sorry. Um,
Just as a reminder, we do only have until 9:30 because I do have to get ready for work at some point.
very much ruining. I'm ruining this. Wafer, brown stripes, short, skinny, bit, a bit of a lightweight, but can.
Okay,
hold
so
a
he's
bit.
a small dude. He's got,
Yeah,
you
small
said
dude.
brown fur?
White fur.
White.
I mean, like a beige, like a creamy white, ashy white. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Are you just
Let's
wearing
try.
the student's uniform or something more independently researchy?
More of a grease monkey person.
Okay, and then any cool mechanical apparatuses?
Not really. Yeah, I'm just more have tools and brushes and I got goggles that actually work. Maybe
Okay,
a hammer.
so next to you, Saria Orphea Cassius, your mentor and one of the most accomplished ballistics engineers at the university, watches on in her usual calm collectedness. A mechanical arm protrudes from her back, holding an array of several clipboards and notebooks, with her occasionally noting something or other in their contents. Do you want to talk to anybody? Explore around? So you're basically in the middle of what is essentially a huge congregation, a parade of students, professors, and engineers and researchers, everyone who is basically all huddled up against the railing of the acacia fife, which is suspended far in the air, looking towards the Tyrannus fife to see what could possibly have caused this massive uptick in activity of the strange things occurring over there. If you just want to observe, that's fine. If you want to talk to Saria, your mentor, you can do that as well.
I will wander around.
Alright, so you kind of meander your way through the crowd enough until you get to a sort of a more spacious area. It's probably a catwalk that leads up to the large outer ring of the acacia fife, one that probably has some residential buildings attached to it. And there's not nearly as many people up here. In fact, with this vantage point, you can sort of see a lot clearer without all the taller people's heads in the way what's actually going on over in the Tyrannus district. The Tyrannus fife. You're in Canaan. The Tyrannus fife itself is comprised of very many towering, sleek, chromatic skyscrapers with tunneling, spiderwebbing streets connecting them at the ground level. It's sort of cordoned off from the rest of Canaan with a large, very mechanically intrinsic, detailed wall that only has openings in a few places, but there's a few landing docks for airships that mostly airships invented by Canaan itself that also have access to the Tyrannus fife. So you have a bit of a better vantage point. Are you do you still just want to be observant? You have the feeling in your gut that something's about to happen.
Yeah, I'll stay on this.
Alright, so you sit down and you get out your notes. Your eyes are wide in anticipation, and the air suddenly, almost as soon as you plop down and get comfortable, is charged. You feel your hairs stand on end, and the air become dry and hard as a wave of intangible, subtle energy washes over you and everything around you, coming from the Tyrannus Fife. And if you'd blinked, you would have missed it. A body of liquid silver manifests above the Tyrannus airspace, a simple sphere, before rapidly expanding, spiraling into a gargantuan metallic spire that instantly pulverizes the central Acropolis, causing its collapse and implosion, while also expanding seemingly infinitely into the sky, so high that it continues on into the heavens. Even from here, you cannot see its top. A rippling wave of force is visible in the treetops surrounding the Fife, rushing towards you, and as it hits the buildings of the Acacia Fife, everyone's hair down below in the crowd that you used to be in, their hair and their clothes, billow suddenly and violently, until a second later, the sound waves of the phenomenon, slightly delayed, buffet all of you, a dull and muted roar, as if a massive amount of atmosphere had been displaced simultaneously. Momentarily deafened, you begin to smell smoke, and the edges of your vision start to turn black. Music change.
I probably should also switch to goggles because I do have goggles.
Switch to what?
Goggles. Protective eyewear.
Can you type that out? I'm in, oh, I haven't invited you to the wind chimes. I guess just type it out in Discord. Ah, yes, you're, sure, perfect. You put your goggles on, so you see it happen a lot better. So anyways, the scene becomes a sky blue. All of a sudden, you're still high up in the air, where the Acacia Fife normally is, but there's no longer any ground far beneath you, like there normally is. Your eyes blink open, and you're held aloft, lying with your head hanging off the side of a poofy white puffball cloud, one which makes no physical sense, as clouds are incoherent collections of moisture, as opposed to this cotton-like substance that you find yourself on. Whatever this place is, you yourself are underneath it, a strange set of drifty, bobby stone steps leading up into a building above you, as if you were in a basement that didn't have a floor, really, or walls. Surrounding the building, you can see the bottoms of more, all of them resting on the same strange cloud-like substance. So you slowly get back up to your feet after seeing this huge spear appear above the Tyrannus Fife and just decimate one of the largest structures at its center. And then all of a sudden this? It's not dreamlike. You feel very lucid. You have your wits about you. And ding! You hear a chiming in the distance. What you want to do?
Try to make something of it.
Alright, you want to roll a check?
Yeah, like, I guess perception.
Investigation would also work.
Oh, okay, then go with that one. I mean, did I get you the stats?
You what? Oh, let's just get this out of the way now. Is your astral username just Yaroth? Yes, it is, because I found you. I just invited you to the game. So now you actually have a thing to roll in. Alternatively, if you already rolled in one of your Discord channels, you can tell me what the result is.
sorry. I have to check my stats. Okay, I rolled a 23.
Okay. Um, so the cloud-like substance definitely seems magical. Uh, in it it seems magical in a weird sort of way. Not like it has inherently magical properties, but like it's reflective of something you've never done research on. It's foreign, if that makes sense. The slate stone is the same way, really. Like it's slate stone and it looks like slate stone, but it's not actually made of that rock. It's almost as if this place is a physical projection of feelings and memories as opposed to a tangible place, which, makes sense given the infinite expanse of sky in every direction. Um, Obviously, there's the staircase of the bobbing stone steps leading up into the main floor of whatever building is above you, and then from there you could probably try to find your way around the city in general.
Cloud. I have to go look for it. I'll try search for my master.
So you look around. You look around for Saria, for anybody really, and the exploration leads you up into the base level. You poke around the buildings themselves. They seem to have a lot of accommodations that you would typically find in homes. You find what would probably be a kitchen with its counter space and this sort of shapely facsimile of a stove, but despite being a reflection of a kitchen, it doesn't seem usable like one. It doesn't seem like anywhere in this place could really be inhabited. It's a little. It takes you out of the moment a little bit. It gives you this strange sort of premonition, a grim premonition, if you will. And after a good 5-10 minutes of not really finding anybody in the alleyways surrounding the buildings, climbing up onto the rooftops, looking down from a bird's eye view, you don't really see much. There's just this weird architecture, and it all seems to spiral in on itself towards a plaza. Ding! There's the chiming again, and it seems to come from that direction.
I'll try checking it if I can.
Alright. Do you want to try by alleyway, or do you want to move over the tops of the walls? It would probably be easier over the tops of the walls, as the alleys look so meandering that you'd very quickly lose your place.
Yeah, I'll climb. I'll climb to the wall, to the top.
Alright, so you're you're more accustomed to this than most would be, given that you're not only a feline palturin, so balance is in your nature, but also the catwalks of the acacia fife. It can be a little discombobulating if you're scared of heights. So you make your way across the tops of the walls, and as you get probably closing on what would have been the halfway distance from where you started, you see what kind of looks like half of what remains to be a church tower. You see an incoherent sort of black humanoid standing on top of it. It's not detailed enough to see any individual fingers or facial features or even hair, but noting its posture, seems to be looking towards the same plaza that you're headed towards. And then, before you can even really react, it starts climbing down the church tower and making its own way along the top of the walls, albeit probably less gracefully than you are. You want to follow it? I know this is a little linear, but there's not much to actually do here.
Yeah, I can tell. If it's coming at me,
So you make your way over to the plaza just a little later than the other figure that you had been following, and you see that there's more of them. One looks to be peering down into a big hole in the center of the plaza, and the one you had followed is standing next to another one at the mouth of an alleyway that feeds into it. All of a sudden, the four trunk-like fingers come up and grip the floor of the plaza from underneath, and a large featureless head with a carved halo protruding off the back comes up and looks at all of you. On its ear, an earring of 7 glass wind chimes, one of which, whenever it makes contact with anything, creates the dinging noise. And Fergus isn't here, so we can't do his solo session.
Huh.